and you get to this point where the season has started and you're struggling in the way that you are, there's not a ton that you can do. What are you going to do to send a message? You going to cut John Carlos? You're going to release him? You're going to send him down to the minors? You're going to tell Aaron Judge he's got to sit down? You're going to bench Glaber Torley? What are you going to do? I mean, there's not a ton, thank you. There's not a ton you could do. So it's so funny to me the way that this works.
Thank you, Alan.
Is that every time a baseball team gets off to a slow start in a 162-game season, the same stuff is said, which is like, well, the manager's really got to get these guys going. All right, so he has a closed-door meeting or whatever on Friday, Aaron Boone. They go out, they lose on Saturday. They go out with their ace on the mound, they lose on Sunday. I mean, what are you supposed to do to shake things up? I mean, if it keeps going in this direction and Brian Cashman has to shake things up by changing the whole philosophy of the team, but we're not at that point yet. So,
well, see, this is what I'm saying. Who put the team together?
Brian Cashman.
Right. Who is not performing? The players that Brian Cashman put together.
Yeah.
And now it's the manager's, mess that he has to clean up, according to many. Now, it's obvious that Aaron Hicks is really struggling for whatever reason. And I don't know what the reasons are. I don't know if anybody's asked him directly why he's struggling, but it's one thing if you're struggling at bat, which a lot of guys do from time to time during the season. It's another thing when you're struggling at bat and struggling in the field. Now there's a bigger problem. And your center fielder, yesterday just was not, for whatever reason, was not in the game. So maybe he needs to have a break. They have a day off today. Maybe he needs a couple days off. I don't know. Only Aaron Boone will know how to handle each of these players. This is one of the reasons why he was brought here. Like I'm not advocating at all against Aaron Boone at this point. You got to give him 60 to 70 games, and you got to let this thing kind of play itself out and try to get this team going again. And we can look at individual players. You can say, this guy's not doing his job. This guy's not doing his job. And
well, that's what it's about.
Right,
yeah.
But it's all obvious.
Yeah.
So now he doesn't have a infinite number of players to choose from. He's got 26 players. Mm-hmm. He's got to figure it out. And, the pitching's got to be better. Herman's going to come back now. He's got to be better. And they can't just rely on one starting pitcher and your bullpen. You got to have other guys that could actually go out there and go 6 or 7 innings. So, I mean, there's a million problems with this team right now. The biggest one, I think, is strikeouts, lack of clutch hitting, and then of course now you have issues at shortstop, issues in center field, issues at catcher when it comes to defense and things of that nature, and that's why the Yankees find themselves where they are. So I guess really the question that we should be asking is, what can Aaron Boone do, and how can he change this?
Oh, I mean, there's not going to be any, and this is the point that I'm bringing up. This is the roster. These are the guys. There's not going to be some sort of spark plug that's out there that Aaron Boone's going to make the decision to bring in. He's not in control of that stuff.
So the one thing that Brian Cashman did realize is that Jay Bruce was fading. And it was just a kind of a Band-Aid type of situation for Luke Voigt. So he was fading. It was eventually they were going to release him. They allowed him to retire. That was great. And you knew that was coming simply because they went out and got Odor, put him at second base, and then put LeMahieu at first base. And then the more Aaron Boone was talking about first base, the more he was talking about DJ LeMahieu. So, that kind of signaled the end for Jay Bruce. All right, so he's gone. So now, what, is it Mike Ford coming here? Is Luke Voigt far from coming back?
But these are all things that Brian Cashman and that department is going to decide collaboratively. We need to stop going back to, and not just us specifically, but people who are watching and paying attention to baseball, going back to that age-old, well, the manager has to do something. What is the manager really in control of in today's baseball?
It's got nothing.
In-game bullpen decisions,
That's about it.
Which already are mapped out. Well, this guy here and the splits here and everything else, but he still has to make a decision here or there. And then dealing with the media. That's it. So when he's in a situation where he's got to answer about Aaron Hicks sitting out a game and he has to talk to the media, and that he's got to make sure that he does that in a way that is palatable to many. That's it.
Let's forget about the Astros cheating scandal for a second. was A.J. Hinch considered a very good manager?
He was.
Right. And the reason he was because he wasn't controversial in any way. And you obviously could see that he wasn't controlling his dugout because they're doing that, banging on the garbage can and all this other stuff to steal as they were stealing the signs. A real true manager, I don't think Joe Girardi would have ever let that happen. I don't think Buck Showalter would have ever let that happen. I kind of think I see Aaron Boone like in the same way that I see A.J. Hinch. Like really good baseball people, really good collaborators with the front office, believes in analytics,
calm demeanor in a very crazy market.
If the analytics department says, "Hey, let's try this week against the Cleveland Indians," he'll do it. He's not going to fight it. Joe Girardi would fight it, and he'd be hard on Gary Sanchez, which is I think what we all want. We want our managers and our coaches and those types of guys to be hard on people to make people uncomfortable. But it's really hard to do that in a 162-game season where the players are getting guaranteed money no matter what. It's really hard. So that's why you have to have a personality like an Aaron Boone to get you through this, I think.
Yeah, but the manager isn't the same job that it used to be. It's just not.
I agree. 100%.
So that's why it's up to these individuals. It's up to the general manager in the offseason to put the right roster together, and it's up to those guys to perform. And if they're not, then the manager's going to get crushed. And if they are, the manager's going to look like a genius. I mean, the Yankees won 100 games in the first couple Aaron Boone seasons as manager. How much was that Aaron Boone? How much could anybody who had some baseball experience sit there and get them to 100 wins?
I guess it was a 19 season, I think it was, where everybody got injured. And you had all these fill-ins, the Talkmans of the world, the Andujars of the world. Maybe that was 18. But, and you had, Gardner. This was the team that was winning all those games, and they were doing it in spectacular fashion. And the pitchers were doing their jobs, and the relief pitchers were doing their job, and they got them to the playoffs with all the injuries. Remember that? Stanton was out forever.
Yep,
Judge was out. You had Luke Voigt coming in. That was what was the lefty first baseman always was getting hurt.
Greg
Bird. He was supposed to be the next coming of Don Mattingly or Tino Martinez, and he wasn't. And then Voigt shows up, and they trade for him, and he starts hitting bombs.
That was 2019.
I think it was. He had
Urshela and Tachman and all that.
It was great.
Yep.
So, I mean, don't you give Aaron Boone credit for that, or do you give that credit to Brian Cashman?
Well, I mean, I think that
he had a wheel and deal during that season to make things happen.
Sure. I mean, I think a little bit of both, but it's mostly the guy who brings in those players. That's mostly what it is.
They also had the other backup catcher that had so many key plays.
Romine,
Austin Romine.
Yeah.
So many
Romine
key
behind
plays,
the bat.
so many key hits, and just, solid defensive guy. I mean, that was a team that you could root for.
Sure, I know. Well, that was the whole point.
It was also DJ LeMahieu's first year, I believe.
It was. No, that's what we talked about the whole time. These replacement Yankees had made the Yankees fun again. And then now here we are again with this, can't hit, striking out.
It's the same.
Can't get a big hit. The starting pitching's disappointing. It's just and then, the Rays have not been good. I think the Rays are 3-7 against the rest of baseball and 5-1 against the Yankees. And they're owned by this team in their division. I mean, you come off a year in which they get bounced in the playoffs by Tampa, and it's shortened regular season where they got crushed by them, to come right back and lose 5 out of 6 in April to the Tampa Bay Rays.
Get swept at home?
Yeah, swept at home like this. And then you think Garrett Cole on the mound Sunday, only stop the bleeding. Yeah, not so much.
I just the thing about it is that there's just too many good baseball players in this team. That eventually it's going to turn. Eventually they're going to go on like this, I think, a murderer's row hot streak.
But then it turns into
April.
What, though?
I know, but we're in April right now.
Yeah.
And I know it looks bad. And the way this whole thing has been choppy, and it doesn't feel right. There's no way the Red Sox, who are in first place with a 10-6 record, are going to be there at the end of the year. There's no way.
All right.
No way.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.